I mentioned in the chat that I am on Luiseno Kumeyaay land, which is in San Diego, California, near Mexico, very close to Mexico. And I wanted to also mention that as people are arriving, that the intention of this day is a Black, Indigenous, person of color, also BAME, Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic Day. It's a space not centered on whiteness, and so we kindly request that you depart as we follow the honor system here. We are centering on love and care today. So welcome, dear community. It's so beautiful to see your faces today. I'd like to express gratitude to our organizing team because we all know that this cannot happen without a number of people. And our organizing team will be introducing themselves as we go along today, but I just wanted to give a shout out to all of them who are here today and not here today for making this day possible. So as you scroll across the images and the faces, just for a few moments, we have 4 pages, but I have a feeling there's going to be more. Imagine that you've just entered a beautiful meditation space. And imagine for a moment that we're in a circle together. It might be a meadow, it might be a forest, it could be a beautiful meditation hall that you've visited or imagined in your mind. And just settle there as we settle together in noble silence. I feel like we're kind of welcoming each other into our spaces, into our homes. And it feels like I'm greeting friends into my space here. So we welcome you and your hearts today, Saturday, August 15th, 2020. And there's something really lovely about it, about seeing your faces, that we are here for you and you are there for us, and we're here for each other. So it was just a few weeks ago when we felt the need to come together. And then Larry mentioned in his way that I have a talk forming around Black lives and around the Black Lives Matter movement. And at that moment, we kind of all knew that the time was ripe. We had to put this together. I'm also remembering that this was a spark that was started about a year ago when we were searching for venues to host a BIPOC retreat on the West Coast. And Victoria and I met with another Sangha friend named Joy in the mountains at a retreat site. And we didn't find the ideal spot, but that spark is still very much alive, and that hope and that dream to organize something like this. So here we are today in such a different way, and not a way that we could have imagined, a much wider way, and in a sea of like so much mud to practice with, in the sea of this global pandemic and this movement and reckoning toward justice. So we are here showing up for each other across time zones, across the ocean, to be together. And our circle is really expanding. We are cultivating a beloved community of shared wellness, abundance, justice, and joy. So the short outline for today, we're going to begin in a little bit with a sitting meditation. There'll be a song and a ceremony and invocation as we all gather in this beautiful container, this circle. We'll be inviting in our ancestors, and followed by a Dharma talk and a break, some sharing and reflecting time, a closing circle, and announcements. A little bit of housekeeping for today. The Zoom chat is still open. We're going to keep it open for a little bit longer just so that you can enter your names. As I mentioned earlier, we're recording this retreat. There's an option for you to be off video if you'd like, if you need to be. And when the meditation and ceremony begins, and through Larry's talk, we invite you to observe noble silence, and the chat will be turned off for those moments, just to hold this container for us all. So please take care of yourself with bio breaks, with water breaks, with tea breaks or snacks. If you need to be moving and video needs to be turned off in order for ease for your body and mind and for your heart, please take good care of yourself. We love that you're taking care of yourself. I'm going to be doing some stretching throughout our time together. And at this time, I'd like to invite and introduce Albert Karcher, who's going to be our host for tech issues today. If there's anything that you'd like to say, Albert. And before I do that, I want to send out gratitude to a Zen master and poet and teacher, to many of us, Thich Nhat Hanh, and to our spiritual blood and land ancestors, that we can be here together today. Albert, would you like to introduce yourself and just say a few words about tech and Zoom?
Thank you, Judy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Albert. I use he, him, his. I'm on Nipmuc land. I'm in central Massachusetts. Yeah, it's a joy to be able to practice together with all of you today. And I'm supporting the program today on Zoom, kind of tech support. So however I can be of a support in that way, you can message me in the chat. Something comes up. And many of you might be familiar with Zoom, and it's kind of helpful to just have a reminder. Sometimes you can toggle between speaker view and gallery view, depending on if you want to see kind of all the many faces. You can switch to gallery view, and if you want to just concentrate on whoever's speaking or leading a practice, Larry or one of our organizers, you can switch to speaker view, and I'll be spotlighting them during the program. Yeah, I think that's it for now. And yep, just really grateful to practice with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. So welcome everyone to Rolling Thunder. And now I'd like to turn this over to Sam and Genevieve as they get us started in our retreat.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever we find you. Thanks everyone for coming together today. My name is Sam Rise, and I'm here on Lene Lenape Nanikoke land. I use they and them pronouns, and thank you for believing me when I tell you who I am. And today I'll be leading a guided meditation practice woven together with a song ancestor. So I'll invite everyone to settle in for a guided meditation. Go ahead and collect the materials that you might need. And I recognize that we're constellated across lands and we're using different technologies to connect us. So feel free to adjust or modify your physical practice or any of the technological components of our practice today to make sure you feel fully supported. You can turn your screen off, lay down, rest, whatever it is that you need to enjoy your breathing and our breathing together as one body. And I'll invite the sound of the bell to begin our practice together. taking these next breaths together to breathe as one body, to land in one body. Accepting the invitation to feel our breath, to follow it, track the sensation maybe on the edges of our nostrils, the soft rise and fall of our bellies, perhaps the extension of the nape of our neck as the crown of our head reaches towards the sky. We breathe in and out. Sending love and compassion to all beings, to our beloved Mother Earth, who's created the conditions for all life to be present with us now. To our land ancestors, and to our song ancestor, Dr. Bernice Johnson Reagan, whose words and melody guide our breath. To all of our ancestors who loved and strove for each of us, their beautiful continuation. We bring our mindful attention to this continuation, which is fluid, adaptive, solutionary, which is vital. A river of endless love, we bring our attention to the forefront of the current wave, this present moment. And we breathe together as one body, flowing on the river of the breath. I am a human at your service. Tell me what you need, when you need, how you need me to be. As we practice sitting meditation, we avail ourselves to the work which reconnects, which restores, which transforms. In the words of our sibling, Kyra Jewel, the peace and joy of the world depend on our peace and joy at this moment. We breathe as one body to light the lamp in the window of our hearts. I am a voice at your calling. Whisper me the song you'd have me sing. I am a worker at your bidding. Show me where you want me to be. We accept and embrace the wrongdoings and sufferings that have held us hostage. We care for our feelings of anger, craving, hatred, ignorance. We go for refuge to the three precious jewels. We breathe as one body with awakened wisdom and compassion to heal ourselves and humankind. I am a baby, hear me cooing. Rock me in my sleep, in my slumber. I am a lover, need your loving. Hold me till I give in to surrender. However we may have drifted in our suffering, our practice allows us to see that there is a beautiful path. We turn toward the light of loving kindness to direct us. We breathe as one body with our ancestors who light the path before us and guide our steps. I am a way from here to yonder. Pass through me on your sojourn to tomorrow. Let our practice together cool and refresh us as clear water, bringing peace and joy into our every action. May we remember ourselves to the Sangha body as droplets of a waterfall, catch the light, reflect its beauty, and return. We breathe as one body and are breathed by the essence of great love, great compassion, great joy, great equanimity, great fearlessness, and great wonder. No birth, no death. I am life, I am forever. Drink me and then give me away.
Dear Thai, dear community. My name is Genevieve, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'm currently located on lands of the Suquamish and Duwamish people in Seattle, Washington. I'm grateful to be here with you all. And just a deep bow to Sam for that beautiful practice, and deep bow to all of you for joining us today. Our practices now are going to be intended to help us feel connected to our roots, to remind us that we are not alone, that we do not do this work alone, and that we are connected to a precious stream of our guides, our wisdom teachers, our ancestors, our communities, and that they are at our service. And to help us remember that we come from the earth and that we are part of the earth. And today I'm calling this the wonder. So our practice is to help us connect with the wonder. And I'd first like to invite us to prepare to be blessed, to be anointed, to open ourselves up to the wonder so that it can pour itself into our being, that it could run itself through our physical and energetic cells, and so that the wonder can ride the wave of our breath and offer us a cleansing. So I'll light some incense, and I'll move this incense, this stream of incense, around my body. And after I do that with myself, I'm going to hold the incense up to my screen and invite you to move the incense around your body, to use the power of your imagination to reach in and grab some of the smoke as an incense offering, and to move it around your body, signaling your willingness to be moved, signaling your openness to the wonder, your willingness to learn from our teachers, which is all of us, Larry Ward and the earth, and our willingness to evolve, to heal, and to grow. And so I'm going to begin this practice with myself first, and then I'll offer you all the stream of wonder. And beloveds, this is for you. Please reach in and grab a stream of incense and wash it over your entire body as a way of anointing, blessing yourself and one another, showing the wonder, our willingness to be anointed and blessed. And when we are complete, we might sit quietly and we might ask for help. We might call in our support system, those who are always available and at our service. From the spirit world and beyond, we invite our guides, our wisdom teachers, our loving human and non-human ancestors and descendants. With these gestures, we expand the field, open up the contours of our circle, our container together, and create space for our wisdom lineage to join us. And we also might make space for the possibility of our wisdom lineage holders to be in dialogue with us during our time together. So take a moment to follow your breath and call in your supporters, call them into the space, into this now moment. And you might do that inside your thought bubble, or you might do that out loud. I'm going to call in John Lewis, and I invite you to call in your supporters. Breathing in as one body. We call our supporters into the space. Breathing out as one body. We call our supporters into the space. And breathing in and breathing out. In and out. We connect with our three of our roots in this moment by placing our hands anywhere on our head or face that feel good in this moment, connecting with your head, face, mind in some way, placing your hands on your body and continuing to breathe in and out with your hands on your head and your face. And next, we move down the body to the chest, heart center, and placing your hands somewhere on the chest or heart, breathing in and breathing out. Rooting into the chest, heart center. And now moving down the body to the abdomen, belly, belly back, placing your hands on the belly and perhaps the back. I like to put the back of my hand on the small of my back as I put the other hand on the belly. And breathing in and out. And back up to the head. And face. Keep breathing. Head, head, face, mind. And now down to the heart, chest. Once again. Keep breathing. And then down to the back belly region. Good. And one more round like that. Head, heart, and back. All together now, let us land our hands on our head. And I'm going to invite Sam to offer us a bell. Aware that we are not separate from our families, our spiritual families, our blood family, heart family, nurturing family, chosen family. We breathe in. We are life. We are forever. Within the wonder, we breathe out. Bring your hands down to your heart. Aware that we are not separate from the elements, the earth, land, the water, the one precious water, fire, air, space. We breathe in. We are life. We are forever, forever, forever. Within the wonder, we breathe out. Move your hands down to your back belly region. Aware that we are not separate from the illness and death related to this pandemic and previous pandemics. We are not separate from the worldwide uprising, this current one and previous ones and those to come. We are not separate. We breathe in. We are human. We are human at your service. Within the wonder, we breathe out. Bring your hands together at your heart center and let us Take a moment to breathe together as one body. I'm going to invite us to follow the rhythm of this breath all together. So breathing in together, 1, 2, 3. Breathing out together, 1, 2, 3. Breathing in together, 1, 2, 3. Breathing out together, 1, 2, 3. And in, 1, 2, 3. And out, 1, 2, 3. Keep going until you hear the sound of the bell. Thank you all for your beautiful practice. So great to see you all. I'm just going to take a minute to look at all your faces. Wonderful. And your names. Yeah, so great to be here with you all. Well, Sam and I finished early. So that means we got time for a song.
We're here for deep celebration, remembrance, and wow, that's, for those of you who know, at least me, I can't speak for Genevieve, you know what a feat, a marvel that is. I'm going to be adding some lyrics to a chant and an offering, an invocation to ancestors, which is a song caught by a beloved community member, Kim Fleischer. It's our ancestor song. And so the text, for those who may have a challenge reading in the chat, the text is as follows: calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage, we offer this practice to you in gratitude. And so even though we're all muted, our voices have the capacity to transcend the bounds of technologies, of borders. We're all connected. And so an invitation now to learn and practice the song together. So I'll sing verse by verse the components of the lyric, right, this text, and then I'll offer it 3 times. And I would invite you, even if your voice shakes, to sing along. We know our indigenous teachers before all else teach us that we can't sing and be afraid at the same time. And so in this moment, we invite the rolling thunder, we welcome it, and we lift our voices in conversation with Grandfather Thunder, and towards our collective liberation and awakening. Yes? Ooh, love to see it. We love to see it. Yes. So this first line, calling all our ancestors. You turn.
Calling all ancestors.
Yeah. Spiritual land and blood.
Spiritual land and blood.
And all the many directions.
And all the many directions
Of our lineage. We offer this practice to you. In gratitude. Yes, I can see you singing, and mouthing counts as singing, my friends. It really does. It's a brave thing. But I would encourage you in this moment to be supported even in some silence and try try inviting our ancestors with your voices. Now I'm going to tap together and sing from top to bottom this lyric. And so I'll invite us, I'll do it a little bit slowly and invite you to join in. So we'll sing it together this first time, a little slowly, and then 3 more times all together. And we'll invite the sound of the bell. So join in as you are able. Be courageous and lift your voice. Yes. Calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Together. Calling all our ancestors, spiritual land and blood, and all the many directions of our lineage. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. We offer this practice to you in gratitude. Thank you, beloved Sangha siblings. Thank you to Genevieve, to all that's going to come. And we're still early.
Dear beautiful ones, just checking that I'm unmuted. Yes. Thank you, dear Genevieve and Sam, for that beautiful, beautiful invocation ceremony, opening ourselves, our hearts to our ancestors and to one another. And just reminding all of us that we are in this beautiful circle or a meadow, and that we're here for each other, reminding us of our own joy and wonder, as has been described. And also a reminder to take care of yourself. If you need to stand up or shake or take a sip of water, or perhaps look at a beautiful item that you might have in your room or outside a window, whatever you need to do to care for yourself in this moment. I have the beautiful privilege to introduce Dr. Larry Ward. Many of you, if not all, know Larry Ward, senior Dharma teacher who met Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh back in 1991. And many of us are aware of the depth and the beauty that Larry brings to his teachings and his life experience. And he is also the author of a forthcoming book, America's Racial Karma. And so without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Larry, who will speak to our theme today of rolling thunder, shaking the foundations of our colonial mind. I'm so happy to be with all of you and all of your energy and all of your spirits. And we are such a beautiful, beautiful circle. I realized I might not have introduced myself. I'm Victoria, and I go by she, her, hers, and we. And again, would like to turn it over to Larry. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Genevieve. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Albert. And thank all the rest of you who are present here now, or who may have an opportunity to be present to this occasion in the future. I'm Larry Ward. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I live in the land of the Tiwa people in a particular spot called Taos, New Mexico. I nourish my practice by many things, but one of them, some of you may know, I continue to do, is to carry not far from me a picture of my mother who adopted me when I was 8 months old. Her name is Viola Parrish. She's part African American and part Cherokee. And she is the one person more than any other who taught me it's possible to love a stranger. This is Thich Nhat Hanh, who's already been mentioned, and still I feel his presence in me and around the world. He is still alive and practicing as best he can in the temple there in Vietnam. I carry the picture of Avalokitesvara, the Bodhisattva of great compassion. This is a photo I brought back from Vietnam in a temple. This is, to me, the challenge of the practice at this moment. Like her, we are standing on the waves of birth and death. Like her, we are not ignoring the suffering that we encounter in ourselves or in our world, but also like her, we must gather up those tears and heal and transform them into nectars of healing and transformation. And we must gather up the willow branches in our lives that can bring about healing and transformation. My last picture is of Lucy. And I carry this picture of Lucy to remind all of us and myself that evolution is not over. I know we have iPhones and computers and airplanes and all other wonderful kinds of inventions. But the research shows that our development as human beings has literally been frozen outside the realm of technology, at least in terms of what we are told. But what we all know in our own practice, in our own connections with one another, with our own families, with our own ancestors, we all know that nourishment of joy and fierce compassion and inspiration and imagination and beauty never leaves. It is us. I have a poem for you. Whenever I write a poem, I always feel like, well, it'll do for now, but there's always more. Here we go. Before I was a black life, I was the seed of all humanity. I was African life, lived for centuries in the great womb of birth and death. I was more than a color, a shade, a hue. I was life itself, resilient, creative, learned, and then I was painted black by white hands, pillaged by greed, raped by lust, stolen by ships, and sold to the highest bidder as chattel. My beautiful skin criminalized, and my breath stolen because I would not agree with subjugation. Our African history is a basket of lies. Our European history is too. Wherever you are from, please check, look deep, and let's make the narratives of truth reality. America's fantasy is now revealed, as it always has been, for most of us, a true nightmare. But sometimes still, in the middle of the night, when I wake up, beauty is in my bones, talking to me, whispering to me, igniting in me the urgency for change at the very root of what creates a colonial mind. And so the cry emerges, Black Lives Matter. And now we are the lightning shaking the planet. We are the trembling of the earth, breaking down old ways of being and knowing and doing. The stream of justice still dance in our hearts as we continue to restore our own sacred humanity and live a life of wisdom, renewed wisdom, remembered, nature refreshed, gender expansiveness respected and celebrated, the joys of harmonies with our own bodies and the bodies of one another, dancing in the vast mysteries of a living planet until the end of our days. Many, many years ago, when I was living and working in the inner cities of Cleveland and Chicago, when James Baldwin's book, The Fire Next Time, I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with it. And it's the first thing I read, and I had read other things, Ralph Ellison in terms of his experience in Invisible Man, etc. But the James Baldwin book of The Fire Next Time was the first time I had a glimpse that the racial quote unquote issue was a spiritual issue. And so I want to share a little bit about that. There's no way, the more I meditated on Black Lives Matter, the more I realized we need a 13-week curriculum. And, or somebody, I mean, this is so rich, so profound. So this is just a little bit of an overview. Baldwin, life is tragic simply because the earth turns and the sun inexorably rises and sets. And one day, for each of us, the sun will go down for the last time. Perhaps the whole root of our trouble, the human trouble, is that we will sacrifice all the beauty of our lives and will imprison ourselves in totems and taboos and crosses and blood sacrifices and steeples and mosques and races and armies and flags and nations in order to deny the fact of death, the only fact we have. It seems to me that one ought to rejoice in the fact of death, ought to decide, indeed, to earn one's death by confronting with passion the conundrum of life. One is responsible for life. It is the small beacon in that terrifying darkness from which we come and to which we shall return. I have meditated on Baldwin's wisdom throughout my whole life as an adult and even a little younger. And it helped me see deeply where the root of the colonial catastrophe, it's a word Cornel West likes to use, a catastrophe that has poisoned the planet. So I tried to write a definition of the colonial mind for my own practice. This is what I came up with, and I encourage you to do your own, because my reason for raising this is to practice so I don't continue it in myself, in my relations, and in my decision making. So part of Buddhist practice is to be clear what it is in ourselves we are bringing to the party of our life. The colonial mind, a mind kidnapped by addiction to worshiping self-cherishing, self-conceit, thereby living an embodied perception of separateness. This has brought 500 years of planetary history with the driving energies of acquisition, extraction, ownership, facilitated by deceit and genocide and enslavement and incarceration and murder to achieve its ends of dominion over the earth, all the earth possesses economically, politically, and culturally. So I practice to recognize these patterns in myself. And the reason this is so crucial for me in terms of social change is if we do not heal the colonial mind underneath our structures, underneath our politics and our predatory economics and our rape of culture, whatever structures we'll create will still carry that mind. You've seen this in your own life. You've witnessed this personally and collectively. This is what I mean by getting to the root. This is what Buddhism means by transformation at the base. So for me, this is not an abstract philosophical conversation. Every structure we have was created by a human mind. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was thought about. It was calculated. And so we must bring our own fierce reflection and deep looking to deconstructing that in ourselves, which continues to carry our suffering forward, and deconstructing in our social relationships and institutions and social psychology, that same illness of acquisition and extraction and genocide and murder and imprisonment. And of course, I could go on. But I want to not focus on our suffering, because we're all working with that. We've been working with that for 500 years. I had a conversation with somebody recently, and they asked me about white privilege, and I just started laughing. I have difficulty. So I have some mental formations myself about the whole idea. And what I know about how the colonial mind works is now all of a sudden, white privilege is the issue, not the suffering underneath it. Not the system hiding in the ground that we walk on wherever we are on this planet this very day. And so when you look up rolling thunder, I like it because it's the natural world. I like the metaphor because it cannot be controlled by our human thoughts or our human hands. And there's particularly two kinds of thunder that are related, are connected. There's the thunderclap. And for 500 years, every death, every genocide, every rape, every mutilation is a clap of condemnation of the colonial perception of what it means to be human and what it means to live. And George Floyd was one of those claps. Breonna was another one. But so was Nina Pomp, the transgender beauty killed in Missouri. Every one of these is a clap, is a noise that is being carried from lightning, of discharge, of our grief, of our ignorance, and of our call to be fully human, as opposed to contrived human, as opposed to performing human. Some of you know I'm kind of neurotic as a researcher, but the rolling thunder is heated lightning moving across the land. And if you're really close to it, which I have been both naturally and socially, the impact, the electricity, the discharge of it realigns our nervous systems. And we're living in that moment of realignment. And so our practice of self-love, self-care, getting together, chanting, singing, inventing new ways to come home and to heal ourselves, it's not just so we can feel better. This is one of the great illusions of Buddhism as it's been communicated to the West. It is a great practice of calming down and soothing and shamanta and settling and getting clear, and that's important, and that's the foundation. But it is also, for me, the only reason I have continued in this path is I recognize early, if you begin to put these practices and principles and ethics into social form, you'd have a really different world. Not a perfect world, there is no such thing, but a really different world in which we could live and the generations to come can live. And so even if you're not just standing where the lightning strikes, the wave has moved across the planet. Friends in Japan and Colombia and Argentina and Cuba and Paris. I'm getting all these responses to Black Lives Matter because of its intersectionality with everything on this planet. We cannot understand modern economics without understanding Black Lives Matter. You cannot grasp modern politics, especially in the West, if you don't understand Black Lives Matter. And you definitely cannot grasp the true meaning of our human culture and all of its richness and diversity without touching the lightning rod of Black Lives Matter. I want to do some work, it'll come out later. I want to take the 5 skandhas and analyze colonialism from the view of the body. I started on this and realized I didn't have time to go into it. There's so much where we've been conditioned to hate our own body. The shaming, the skill of shaming that the colonial mind brought to us, we still carry. And if we're not careful, we leak it out on one another. We must be raising each other up and live beyond middle school in our relationships to one another. Be adults. You know, a bodhisattva phrase I heard from someone years ago was a bodhisattva is a true adult, a spiritual grown-up. And so whatever our spiritual traditions are, whatever our wisdom traditions are, we need to apply those to how we imagine the future of our life together on this planet. These are not intellectual constructs simply to be chit-chatted about. My friends wanted to make sure I didn't go overtime, which is very easy for me. It's my Baptist conditioning, my Jesus conditioning. I was with Peggy and her mother years ago after her father died. And he had saved enough money for us to take a special trip to Italy, to Florence, where after World War II, he had brought back some of the art that had been stolen. And so we went, thanks to him, and traced his footsteps around. I don't think we grasp how much has been stolen from us. And don't go there too fast, because the well is really deep. I fell into it about 2 weeks ago. I never thought I could hurt so much. And my hurt was not personal. It was the hurt of this planet, the hurt of our species and our water and our mountains, let alone all our relations, near and far. The intersectionality of Black lives. There's some great research on how the slave trade has literally altered the genetic makeup of the modern world. I won't go to mention how much of Western medicine is based on experimentation that has been done on people of color around this world. You can look everything up, do your homework, look it up. So what are the foundations that I see are shaking? The foundation of what is intelligence. You know, we've all been taught what intelligence is. And, you know, we measure it by passing tests. Well, which, as far as I can tell, is no indication whatsoever. It is an indication of good memory. And I've always had no problem with tests. So, you know, I understand that, but I understand what it is I'm good at. Test taking. It doesn't mean I learned anything. Unless I learn how to embody my learning, our beauty, our understanding of beauty. You know, it was only this year that, you may have heard this, Walmart finally moved beauty products for non-white people out of cages. So everything we try to touch, every effort we make to participate, if we don't practice well, will re-traumatize us. So the colonial mind is frozen in time. You can see it played out on the news at this very moment. This mind of dominion, this mind of control, this mind of male-centered white body divinity, which we all know is not. Bigoted Christianity. We cannot decolonize our own minds without understanding the tragic role that Christianity played, both the Catholic and the Protestants, beginning in the 15th century with the doctrine of discovery, which basically was a commission to go rob and steal whatever you want. I heard a talk by someone I met, James Lawson, at John Lewis's funeral, and about 10 years ago I was with him on a panel in California, and James was the man Martin Luther King asked to go to India to study nonviolence. Please understand, the study of nonviolence was not about nonviolent protest. It was about a nonviolent life, which includes protest. So our training is to learn how to live nonviolently with one another. And then when years ago in the late 70s, when I had a chance to go to India and work in villages there in the state of Maharashtra in particular, I visited villages, and I entered into one where there was a statue of Martin Luther King at the entry of the village, a statue of James Lawson at the entry of the village, a statue of Gandhi at the entry. And I had an opportunity to spend 2 years working and living with the remarkable people of South Asia. Our language, we've got to work on our language, people. Take a look in your own life, in our collective lives, of how the language of colonialism is how we define ourselves. I was teaching a class at the Graduate School of Education at Claremont University a few years ago, and it was on how to mindfully work with marginalized children. So I had a class of about 35 or 40 people pursuing master's degrees and PhDs. And one of the most startling sessions we had was when people realized that the children in their classroom were already defined before they arrived, already categorized, already limited, already disrespected, already discouraged. And so we had a 13-week journey in how to love our children and how to shift the images that permeate through the media, through the very fabric of our society. Yeah, if you haven't read The Doctrine of, well, it's in my book. But regardless of that, you need to do your homework. The systems we have did not come from nowhere. Now, this is pure Buddhist practice. This is because that is. George Floyd his murder did not just happen. The very idea that you could kill someone in public with a smile on your face, with no expectation of accountability, is what non-white people have been living with in this country from the beginning and before. This is the rumble. This is the thunder. It's not stopping. For anybody who thinks they can connive. I woke up early this morning, which I have, all of a sudden I found myself on my computer and I was looking up the laws of Boston, Massachusetts in 1660. So it's not that long of a document. So I went through the whole thing, and the number one thing I discovered for myself, every law was about gathering, capturing, retaining, or moving wealth. Our entire legal system is designed for wealth building, which is not bad if you have an opportunity to participate. And of course it is bad because it's about conniving. The whole idea of the conqueror and warriorship is how we have to live our lives is also a lie about European history. But that's got packaged into white identity. And so every person thinks they're not safe unless they can go to war. Whenever we say in the United States we're going to do a war on something, that means it's going to fail. War on poverty. War on poverty was war on poor people. I worked in the ghettos of Cleveland during the war on poverty and did everything I could not to be destroyed by what was supposed to help. This is what I mean if we don't change the mind. At the same time we shift patterns and social forms, we end up where we started, but you know that already. There's a legal description of what happened to many African-American women and men. And the legal definition is called a casual murder. That's actually a legal category in American jurisprudence, which means Oh, this is the basis of your stand your ground law in Florida. Or the man who chased Aubrey while he was jogging and murdered him. This is a casual murder. And literally, this is in our legal structure, created at the time of slavery, of course, and indention and genocide. And a comment about genocide is, we have to remember what happened before slaves got here as we think of slaves getting here on those ships, though we have research beyond that. And you know, the practice of genocide, that is to do something absolutely destructive and murder and kill and then deny you did it. But the third step is to forget you denied it. And part of the rolling thunder today is you can't get away with that denial anymore. You can tell yourself that lie, but you can't tell the rest of us. I've got friends in Japan now studying African American history who never thought they would. And we are unearthing things in the history of Colombia and Brazil and Switzerland and the Dutch. You know, there's 13 countries still paying, from Africa, still paying tax to France. You know, when I have to stop every day and pause, so I just explode with the sheer ridiculousness of this oppression. The three poisons in Buddhism is so accurate. The colonial mind driven by greed, commissioned, supported, driven by hate, and driven by ignorance. One of the reasons, and then I know I'll stop, there's much more to come later, but in the five aggregates, the five aggregates of clinging to our experience as humans, the second one in Buddhism is called feelings, and that is a particular reaction to our external experience of life, where we feel pleasant, unpleasant. But what the colonial system has done and still does is it successfully legitimizes hate. It successfully legitimizes aversion. If you go to Spain in the early 15th century, you will find a record of something called the Negroid Edict, which was a law passed to keep the society to be able to respond to African people, non-white people, any way they wanted without consequence. And we have that. Jim Crow was that edict. And of course, every person who's not white, who's not male Protestant, sexually oriented, whatever that is subjected to this informal as well as formal aversion. Legitimizing hate. Not only that, legitimizing greed. Now if you look at Adam Smith's work, which we should, one of the things he said is you should develop a society in which people worship rich people. That's literally in print, because if non-rich people worship rich people can stay rich. Rich people can get richer. So we have structured an entire society around the celebrity of wealth with no accountability for ethics. That's being shaken. Angela Davis, I agree with. There's no way to deconstruct our own experience as people, non-white folks, without looking at capitalism. No way. Try it. See how far you can get. I read a wonderful paper by Russell Means from the late 60s a few days ago, and his critique was, don't try to convince me that capitalism is the way to go, and don't try to convince me that communism is the way to go, because neither one of those fully respects the earth. So whatever it is we are imagining creating in our future, of living together economically, politically, and culturally, it has to be earth-centered. As our practice is body and ecologically centered. So when you experience these being triggered, which doesn't take much today for any of us, to where old wounds rise up. Two things: to learn to practice with our mental formations, to learn to practice with our thoughts that keep coming back, and learn how not to run from those, be okay with those, to be able to, we practice shamatha so we can hold those and then take them apart. But we cannot take them apart if we simply react to them. We can only take them apart where we can be calm enough to remove the strings, the cords that keep us connected to not being connected to ourselves, which is the great magic of the colonial model. Everything is material. Everything is physical, without any respect for the psychic space that feeds a culture of white supremacy and colonialism. And our work to heal ourselves is so we can transform that psychic space in ourselves that gives permission for this to continue. So that we can call out and call in ourselves. We can call out and call in one another. But Martin Luther King said a long time ago, about a year before he was killed, before he was murdered, he called into question the entire economic system of the United States. And from that speech to 1 year later, to the date, was his assassination. Think that's an accident? Not from what I know from people on the ground like Andy Young and others. So there is backlash coming, backlash rising. We should not be afraid of backlash, white backlash, always been there, but it's getting weaker. It is not getting quite as much support, and so the iceberg is melting. But as you know, and I know, what's under an iceberg is a lot bigger than what's on top. So we still have lots and lots of deep work to do with ourselves and deep work to do with our society. But for me, one of the most important things is understanding that our mental formations have neurological correspondence. That is, the idea of white privilege also is a neurological pattern in people's hearts and brains, and the entire nervous system is wired with those presuppositions. And the neurons that fire in people's brains when they think and act and behave are all saturated with colonial superiority. The whole idea of what it means to be a proper human being. The whole idea of let's not get too close to anything that we can't control, any wildness in ourselves, any wildness in one another. No wonder that's a joyous life. Joy comes from the wild. It is natural. It is our inheritance as this marvelous species. species of wonder that Genevieve really nourished responding. And so if you haven't started to learn traumatic skills in terms of resilience, please do. Otherwise, the colonial system knows how to deal with rebellion. It's all set for that. It is not set for what we need to bring. It is not set for love. It is not set for communication. It is not set for beloved community. It doesn't know what to do. Because the core of colonial mind is violence and military force and power to take what you want. Martin Luther King was actually asked about this years ago. Why don't you take up guns against white supremacy? And Martin, you can look this up, says we don't have enough. That simple. So the only way to move forward in this without getting all of ourselves eliminated is to think wiser and longer and deeper than the tiny colonial mind that created only one system with 3 parts. Human hierarchy, both for gender and race. Patriarchy, male-centered certainty of everything. This is amazing to me. But anyway, and then predatory wealth building. And so when I start to think about my own life, my own work, my own business, I try to recognize, am I taking a predatory relationship to this person? To this space, to this, am I caught in this conquering? Do I have to be in dominion? Or I'm not satisfied in my meeting or in my conversation or in my family. So all these conditionings that we've received knowingly or unknowingly affect our lives. And so for me, our practice is a wonderful antidote to continuously wake up our evolutionary self. You know, in Buddhism, we have the historical mind and the two truths, the ultimate and the historical. The center of those two, for me, what emerged in me is the evolutionary mind. I am no longer satisfied with how we have evolved so far, period. Great things, great stuff, blah, blah, blah. But horror after horror after horror, not to mention the fact this is not sustainable. So I ask myself every day, how should I live? How should I think? How should I be with other humans and other beings and other species in ways that do not perpetuate our self-destruction? We are a remarkable species, but we're also highly susceptible to stupidity. Actually, I found I found that word in one sutra. It made me very happy. No, that's stupid. So we have confused, you know, the colonial conditioning we have conditioned all of us to be polite it the wrong way, instead of holding accountability. I know it's hard because we have friends and neighbors who still live in a world that actually never existed, but who think it did and are committed to that never existing world continuing. So it is difficult to be in an environment like that. This is why our practice, our silence, our centering, our singing, our art, our walking, our talking, our joy is an inspiration and imagination are the key to the future of this planet. Now, there's something I haven't said to white audiences yet, but they have no idea who and where we are. So it's very clear to me what I appreciate so much. I think there's some word for what I'm about to say, some literary thing. I appreciate so much the Trump administration because it has revealed the illusion of white supremacy. People around the world this is supremacy? This is what leadership is? This is what being in charge means? And I celebrate the fact that it is revealed as incompetence. The incompetence that greed brings with it. The incompetence hate brings with it. And the incompetence that the illusion of being separate brings with it. We see this all over the world, not just here, but every place where people really don't understand that the pandemic is not a political construct. We do not understand our own bodies, our own being with one another in this world, in this vast nature of wonder. But we do, and we can go deeper in ourselves and with one another. And for that, I'm very glad to be with you. I think I stopped them time. I had to stop myself. You know, the Baptist was rising up. So more later, we're going to create an online course called the Wingate, which will be on deconstructing the colonial mind. So we're starting to work on that. We're meeting on that tomorrow. And Peggy's working on an academic class. I'm working on one from Buddhist psychology, and we're going to meet together with Kim and see what we can map out. So something like the Earth Gate, this will be the next gate, the gate of the mind. So Peggy just told me I had a few more minutes, which I'm fine. But for me, it's more important that you're able to talk together. We put some questions together just for your reflection. And of course, as facilitators, we all know the question you ask and the question a person responds to is their business. And so I never get too caught up, but we wanted some way to stimulate reflection and conversation, individually and collectively. So I bow to you. Is that you, Victoria?
Yes, it's Victoria bowing in. I admit I am having technical difficulty with internet and phone. So we'll bow to my team members if all of a sudden I no longer am here. So now is the time, everyone, that we will invite actually a break. But as you break, we also invite you to take some mindful movements. Please stand up and take some mindful movements. Everything that you do, practice mindful movement. Practice if you're getting yourself some water, sipping mindfully. Even if you're going to the bathroom, going to the bathroom and observing, going to the bathroom. Every moment can be a mindful moment. And so with that, we are going to invite you to do that. We will offer 15 minutes and come back at 12 o'clock. And Dear ones, now is the opportunity for us to have some reflection time in breakout rooms. We'll be breaking out randomly, about 5 people, and we are going to have you in about 20 minutes or so. And there are some prompts I would like to offer to you. And of course, these prompts are something that we can take with us, and there'll be more prompts also, I'm sure, in our own minds to reflect on. So I'll offer perhaps about 3 questions or so, 3 prompts. And here they are. What in the talk caught your attention or surprised you? When did you first realize your life is previously defined by colonial constructs? And what are your self-care priorities now? So I will repeat them again. What in the talk caught your attention or surprised you? When did you first realize your life is previously defined by colonial constructs? And what are your self-care priorities now? And we invite you, you don't necessarily have to answer these prompts. You could, whatever may else be up for you. But we would like to invite you that as you are in your breakout rooms, some of the guidelines we enjoy as we sit is you may wish to introduce yourselves and be mindful. We offer to ourselves mindful listening and mindful speech. And that the circles that you're in is, we like to hold the space as a safe space. So we request that those are kept within the circle. And we often bow in and bow out to begin when we wish to speak and when we're done. If that works for your circle, that is something that we use in our sanghas. And we encourage you to kind of be lean with expression. Again, it'll be about 20 minutes, so you'll organize your time. And I'm wondering, it appears that there might be a question, but my technology is not able to see it. If it's something that, perhaps Albert, if there's a question that's coming from the audience, perhaps you can repeat it. I cannot see it. I can just tell that a message came through. So I'll pause to see if this is something that we need to share with the whole group. I'll just pause for a moment. I'll bow out.
Thanks, Victoria. This is Albert bowing in. Are you talking about the hand that's raised, or someone sent a question in the chat?
I think somebody might have sent a question in the chat, and we'll do our best. If it's not there, then we may not need to be able to answer it. Maybe it was sent to me privately, but I'm having, because of my technical issues, I can't see everything fully.
So I see a number of people put asked if we could put the prompts in the chat, and
okay,
I pasted them in there, hopefully.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So with that, the other piece I wanted to offer is sometimes folks may not wish to be in the breakout room. I think if there's an invitation, and if you prefer not to be in the breakout room, there will be a larger main room, and we will just practice noble silence in the larger room, should you prefer not to be in the smaller breakout room. So I wanted to offer that as well. So with that, I will invite Albert to have our breakout rooms. And I see that it's going on, it's like 12:08, almost 12:10. Perhaps return at 12:30, giving about 20 minutes for the group.
Victoria, I'll just bow in
Yes.
again. So,
Sure.
so some folks in the chat, they said what I pasted in the chat is not what you said. So I copied it
Oh,
from the document, but it might be a little bit different. So I can type in what you said.
okay. Were they the questions that Judy had sent in the chat? They're not the same. I basically, there were more questions. There were like 5 or 6 questions. I just repeated 3 of the questions. I'm happy to repeat the questions one more time. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that
Sure.
probably would be
Okay,
helpful. And I'll also,
great. Type
yeah,
it as maybe you can type it in
I'll
the
type it
text or the
in.
chat as I ask the question. Thank you very much. Grateful for technology, grateful for our circle. Here they are. What in the talk caught your attention or surprised you? When did you first realize your life was or is previously defined by colonial constructs? And the third is, what are your self-care priorities now? So this is Victoria. So wondering, Albert, are we ready to have our breakout rooms? And I believe the organizing team, I don't know if it's possible, but I don't, may stay in the larger room perhaps, but whatever works. Welcome back, dear siblings, dear beautiful ones. I'd like to sound a bell, and perhaps we can have maybe about 10 or 15 breaths, and I'll sound it one more time after that, just for settling as we return. It's Victoria bowing in, hoping those your circles were nourishing, intriguing. Perhaps some of you may have just sat in silence reflecting. What we thought we would do at this time is invite you all. I think Albert has the chat open. And if there are some inspirations or reflections that you all would like to share in the chat, you might have a question or two also for Larry. We'll just be doing this for just a few minutes. But if you can go ahead and place your inspirations in the chat, and we'll wait a moment or two, and then we'll invite Albert to read a few select or what may arise there in the chat. So I'll bow out for just a moment or two as the chat comes in. Bowing out. Bowing back in, Albert, whenever you feel is right. Thank you. Bowing out.
Victoria, was Larry going to share before or after?
He's going to share right after this portion and before Genevieve does the closing.
Okay, great, thanks. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for sharing in the chat. I'll read out some of what you shared here. So for Larry, so appreciative of your practice and your offerings. What would a non-colonial world look like? What would you want it to be like? So pleased and grateful to be here with you all, joining from Lenni Lenape land. Thank you for the deep sharing to my Dharma group siblings. My healing is tied to your healing. My joy is tied to your joy. For Larry, one question. Would you define/delineate once more the colonized mind, please? Inspired by Larry to be a feral Buddhist, inviting others to step into their wildness while they decolonize their beings through art and writing and movement. Thank you for the acknowledgement and reminder of wildness and joy. Thank you, organizing committee, Larry, and my group. I find that I need some help imagining what could be without the colonial constructs. So grateful to be one together, waking up together to our wisdom and our richness, our love, our freedom. Feeling such immense gratitude. Thank you all. Thank you, Larry and Victoria. Remembering I'm not alone and I don't have to do this healing work alone. There's a +1 on Beverly's comment. An untamed heart can't be colonized. Our group was four from 4 different countries, and that was so beautiful to have us all together. Loving feral Buddhist Beverly. Giving thanks for this offering, Ase. Deep gratitude for community and this wonderful teachings, Ase. Dear Sangha, I was in a mass shooting by white supremacists a year ago. I don't want to forgive him. Am I wrong? My kids were with me. Thank you, small group, for the deep dive into tenderness of our experiences with the trauma of colonialism, loss, rage, healing, and freedom. I see you and I am grateful. Thank you all. Such a gift to be in community with wise, beloved, willing ones in these times. May we wake up to see ourselves as beautiful, love, wise, complete, abundant, and one, and be community supporting and healing each other. Thank you all.
Deserves a beautiful bell of our voices, bell of our hearts, bell of joy and wonder. I'd like to invite Larry. Larry, I think you had a few more words you wish to share with all of us. Bowing out.
Hello, I'm back. Go ahead. Just a general response to the chat room, though each question deserves more time, more contemplation. But the one thing I want all of us to know This is the secret joy in my heart I've been holding. I've never been telling white people. and that is a non-colonial world would look like what we've been experiencing. We are the non-colonial world. It is our energy. It is our hearts. We are the majority of this planet. Everything you see around us was built out of blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors and ourselves. And the capacity to be together with our uniqueness in the many forms that it takes, like a diamond, and having hearts that can hold that, celebrate that, recognize that, sustain that, and have the kind of conversations to create new forms of everything. To me, we are the prototype energetically. So I wrote something so I would stop talking, and I'm going to read it. While many are lost in fear, numbness, or running away, caught in reactivity, which we all know. But thankfully, through the grace of our ancestors, we are busy with our spiritual practice, rewashing, enhancing, and embodying the nervous system of the planetary future. This is the revolutionary nature of spiritual practice, if done wisely and mindfully at this moment. We have to know what we're doing and our power. We're not just dealing in material space, we're dealing in psychic space, neurological space. And we have individual and collective capacities to find great joy. And to me, that's what we've been doing today. So I'm very happy to be alive. Thank you.
It's Victoria bowing in. Thank you so much. And now, as we have our closing, we'll have closing words, closing ceremony. I will turn it over to Genevieve, and also to Judy after that. So, so thank you, dear siblings. Victoria bowing in.
Dear Ty, dear community, dear descendants of my ancestors, this is Genevieve. I'm going to invite a sound of a bell and then offer the words that Sam offered us earlier, and then a close.
Should I make some? You know this.
I am a human at your service. Tell me what you need, when you need, and how you need me to be. I am a voice at your calling. Whisper me the song you'd have me sing. I'm a worker at your bidding. Show me where you want me to dig. I'm a baby. Hear me cooing. Rock me in my sleep and my slumber. I am a lover. Need your loving. Hold me till I give in to surrender. I am away from here to yonder. Pass through me on your sojourn to tomorrow. I am life. I am forever. Drink me and then give me away. Friends, with a clear understanding of how rare and precious we each are, and a clear understanding of how rare and precious this moment together is, we breathe in, and with gratitude, so much gratitude, we breathe out. We breathe as one body and accept our inheritance to ripen more fully into that which we already are, precious and beloved. We thank our supporters, our ancestors, and those who have come into the circle to join us, and we bid them adieu, send them on their way. We say goodbye for now, and we say goodbye to them and one another as well.
Thank you, dear Genevieve and dear siblings. This is Judy bowing in again. I have a few announcements to make here, and then a dedication of merit. I'm also noticing just right now for me and maybe for some of you to acknowledge all that took place in a very short time for me. I don't know how it was for you, but to just as a reminder and an acknowledgement to please take good care of yourselves going forward today and maybe over the next few days or longer. To remember to rest and care for our bodies and our hearts with movement or fresh air or whatever it is that brings goodness and care to your heart. We did a lot of rolling and shaking and clapping today. So I just invite you to notice that, what's going on in your body, and to use the practices that benefit you. So I have a few announcements to make, not in any particular order. One announcement is that we try to make these events and these retreats and days of mindfulness available to all, and the teachings are offered from the heart as expressed today. And with that, we practice the art of generosity called dana in Sanskrit in the Buddhist tradition. So if you have the resources or means, or maybe you've already done so, to please consider donating to the Lotus Institute. I believe that Albert has put that in the chat, the website. The second thing is Larry mentioned, and Victoria mentioned, that Larry has a book that's at the printers now. It's going to be ready in September, called America's Racial Karma, and it will touch upon many of the things that Larry talked about today, but the pre-sale is available. That's also on the Lotus website, and if you want to check that out, there's a section there for America's Racial Karma. That would really help get the book into more hands if we can do a few more pre-sales. And then finally, Rolling Thunder will be continuing in November. We'll be holding a retreat November 6th through the 8th. That will be on the website as well. Not quite yet, but the title is Rolling Thunder, the Unstoppable, Irreplaceable Force of Love and Care. And just to let you know, some of this information came in to us just very recently from Kim Fleischer, the amazing operations director for Lotus. So everyone is welcome. We'll be centering Black, Indigenous, people of color, gender expansive folks, the LGBTQIA plus community, and youth practitioners 18 and over. Typically folks who are marginalized in the wellness and spiritual communities. So as I said, there'll be more information coming forward, but we'll be taking a deeper dive into the Heart Sutra over the course of that retreat in November. And as a pathway into really building on this idea of radical care and radical love. So I think as we end our time here together, I want to share a covenant that Larry wrote before offering the merit. And I think I'd like to do so by starting with a bell. And yes, the retreat will be online. We will be gathering in a form such as this. I'm going to offer a bell, and then this covenant that Larry wrote, an agreement that many of us have been practicing with. I stand up for you. You stand up for me. We stand up together. And this is how we do it. I care for you. And you care for me. We care together. This is how we do it. This offering of merit is a Dagara prayer offered by Maladomo Some that was shared recently at the East Bay Meditation talk, and also practiced by another Dharma friend and teacher, Kyra Jewel. May all ancestors join forces to put good thoughts into our minds so that we may see the good that awaits us and accept it. Thank you, dear community. I think we can all unmute ourselves.